Often my mindset will determine the outcome of my trip. And if I have a positive attitude and go out with the mentality to learn from my experience, it'll set me up for success, whether I catch fish or not.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, and Happy New Year. More importantly, welcome to 2021. 2020 brought its fair share of hard times. Some of you may have even lost family members and friends, but even so, I think we can all find some kind of positive too, even if you have to dig really, really deep. I hope you took a moment to reflect as you rang in the new year and spent a good amount of time focusing on those positives and feeling gratitude. That's super important. For me, it caused me to refocus my priorities and really dial in on what I want from life. I did some major streamlining and downsizing, and in the meantime, I found a new career as a United States Coast Guard licensed training captain and membership executive for Freedom Boat Club Nashville, which I absolutely love, and it's going to allow me to spend some time down in Florida over the winter months, which has been a dream of mine for a really long time. It's also going to afford me the ability to fish the Women's Pro Bass Tour, the Lady Bass Anglers Association, as a pro in 2021. The first tournament is immediately following the Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts, so I'll be hitting up both as we happen to be fishing Ray Hubbard, which is just on the other side of Dallas from where the Classic is taking place. So that works out super well. The other big news is a new partnership with Lance Truck Camper. I'll be setting up our new, to us, gently used 2016 Lance 855S short bed truck camper as the official mobile podcast studio for the Woman Angler and Adventurer. In fact, as you're hearing this episode, I just picked up the camper yesterday and am dropping it off at the wrap shop today. So behind the scenes video on all that will be coming soon. Once I get it all set up, we'll be hitting the road back down to Florida. We're going to stop off and fish the Harris Chain of Lakes for a couple days and then head further south from there. There's no telling where the adventure might take us, but I'll be sure to keep you posted. That said, next week's episode will be the first to come from the new Lance Camper mobile podcast studio, and fittingly, I'll be speaking with an amazing couple who went on a 6-month adventure to the Arctic Circle in Alaska in their Lance truck camper. In addition to that, I'll be setting up the studio with some video capabilities and plan to do some live video podcasts in 2021. Who knows, it might even become a regular thing if all goes well. The Woman Angler and Adventurer has a YouTube channel that's sort of been neglected with other priorities, such as releasing weekly podcast episodes, which, by the way, we're already up to 165, so that's really exciting. We're well on our way to surpassing 200 episodes this year. But the video podcasts and other videos I plan to release from tournaments, sharing tips, and other fun things along the way should help to grow the channel. So if you're a supporter of the show and you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, please take a moment to do so. You can find the channel really easily by searching The Woman Angler and Adventurer on YouTube or by going to podcast.thewomanangler.com/YouTube. While all these things are getting buttoned up, we're winding down the Breaking the Ice series of episodes, which I've been releasing in conjunction with the Breaking the Ice article that came out in Trailer Life magazine about women and ice fishing. If you missed it, I'll put a link to the article in the show notes for this episode, thewomanangler.com/165. So I'm wrapping this up with not one, but 2 conversations with some pretty badass female ice anglers from Minnesota. Both are part of the Women Anglers of Minnesota group, and both are really impressive do-it-yourselfers who love to pass their ice fishing knowledge along to others. I'm talking about Jessi Havemeier and Katie Halverson. I've already talked enough, so I'll let Jessi and Katie's stories speak for themselves. And be sure and listen to the end. I'm going to fill you in on the details of the latest Woman Anglers of Minnesota virtual Ice Queen tournament that anyone can participate in. I believe this is their 3rd year hosting the virtual tournament via the Fish Donkey app. And wow, I featured the creator of the Fish Donkey app way back on episode 10 when the show was still called It Pays to Fish, which was almost 3 years ago. That's crazy to think about. All right, without further ado, I'll first be speaking with Jessi and then on to Katie. And here we go. Welcome, Jessi, to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. You're very unique because you're a single mom, you work on classic trucks, and a lot of the work that you do on it is you do yourself, which is awesome. But you're also an independent ice angler. You do everything from finding the fish to drilling your own holes to cleaning your catch. So I'm like, perfect. Got to talk to Jessi. So
I build my own rods too.
You build your own rods too? That's awesome.
I do.
All kinds of rods, or just ice fishing rods, or
all kinds.
All kinds. Sweet. So you're do it yourselfer, like from beginning to end.
Yep.
Do you tie your own jigs too?
Yep.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, how did you get into fishing and ice fishing?
I got into fishing. I guess I started out fishing with my grandparents. They were always really big into northern fishing and trolling for northerns in the summer. So cool. I kind of picked up that fishing love with them. And then, my dad and grandpa were into ice fishing as well. So going out with those guys, they had a hard-sided shack that they built and grew up with that.
Good deal. So you didn't have to deal with the sitting on the bucket as like your first ice fishing experience out in the middle of the lake. Right?
Nope, I didn't have to do that. Not just my first time.
Yeah.
More than happy to now, but
right.
not growing up.
Right. And now the gear's a little bit better for that anyways.
Exactly.
Don't get as cold. So, I spoke with a lady, I don't know if you know of her, but Debbie Compton. She's out of Illinois, and actually Kristen, knew of her and suggested I talk to her because she's an older lady, but she's like kind of a pioneer as far as women getting into ice fishing tournaments. And she won like some like world championship, and she's traveled to Finland, and she's fished on the world team with Dave Gens and all this stuff. So she
wow.
So she was talking to me about how it was back in her day, when we did not have the gear. Like Dave Gens was kind of the one that came up with a lot of the stuff that we use today that makes ice fishing a lot more comfortable. But back then she just didn't have that. So it was like, but she's just diehard. She don't care, and
that's awesome.
And she, she didn't have the drill powered augers or anything like that. It was just all hand drilled, and they weighed 25 pounds, and her big thing is moving to find the fish. So she's drilling holes like all day long, by hand. Yeah. I'm like, man,
the hand auger.
Yeah. It's pretty inspiring. Hardcore. Yeah, definitely hardcore for sure. So what draws you to ice fishing specifically? Is it just that's what you have to do up there to fish in the winter, or is there something in particular that you love about ice fishing?
I guess kind of both. Like I have to fish because it seems like, my happiness comes from that time you get out on the lake with nature and whatever fishing. So I love fishing for that aspect. And, I don't know. Also, I love the ice fishing for the mobility of it. Like you can get out there, walk out there, drive a truck out there, four-wheeler out there, and it's just a lot less like boat ramps and stuff that you have to deal with. Like you don't have to deal with that in the winter like you do in the summer. So you get to do that. And I don't know, you can get into more spots with ice fishing, I think. Right. Like into spots that you normally couldn't get with a boat. You can get up in there and fish in the winter.
Yeah. Do you have a specific species you like to target in the winter?
No, I I like to switch it up and keep it interesting.
Okay.
One weekend I'll be fishing for walleye on Lake of the Woods, and the next weekend I'll be fishing locally at home for panfish. Just like to keep it interesting.
What are some of your local bodies of water that you like to fish?
Down here we've got Madison Lake and Lake Washington over in the St. Peter Madison Lake area over there. Those are my main ones around home that I go and target.
Okay.
Otherwise, Lake Hanska as well over here. Yeah. Otherwise, I love to go up north, Lake Washington or Lake of the Woods and Red Lake and all of those up there are always great fisheries as well.
Yeah, I got to fish Red Lake for the first time this past January, I guess it was. That was a pretty cool experience. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you look out and it's just nothing but white as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, I love that.
Kind of a cool thing.
Lake of the Woods when you're up there and you're 20 miles out and you can just see forever. It's just miles and miles of lake.
That's awesome. So being a do-it-yourselfer, I mean, like building your own rods, tying your own jigs, finding your own fish, drilling your own holes, cleaning your fish, eating your fish, all that stuff. Does it give you a sense of accomplishment, especially as a woman? Is there anything like, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, it certainly does feel good to be able to go out there, like with me, like go out there and catch a fish on a rod that you built and find the fish yourself. Like if you're starting on a new lake that you've never been on before, read the map, read the contours, decide where you're going to fish at, find the fish and have a successful day is awesome. Definitely a sense of accomplishment in that. I don't know, as a woman, I feel like anybody can do it. I don't necessarily go by the stereotype that women are less capable at doing it than men. I feel like if you love it and you're passionate about it, you can get out there and do it just as good as anybody else.
Do you get a chance to pass along your knowledge to others?
Yeah. I love, like people will say, oh, I've never been out ice fishing. I love to take people out with me. I try to be less like tamed down when they're there. I'm a big move kind of person, but when I bring out newbies, it's always, set up a nice warm shack and get them on some fish. And I love teaching people and getting them to see their first fish on the flasher, Vexlar, and get that first hook set. It's always awesome.
Awesome. And you're part of Women Anglers of Minnesota. How long have you been a part of that group?
I believe this will be my 4th year with Women Anglers of Minnesota. Okay. Right now I'm publicity director, so it's my 1st year on the board.
Awesome. And do you guys get to do much like ice fishing events together as a group?
Yeah, there's a couple trips a year doing ice fishing stuff. Last year we all went out to Devil's Lake. That was a great time. They also have like an instructional ice fishing 101. I was a teacher at that last year. I talked about rods on that one, and then after that, we all go out to the lake and get some people on their first fish.
Cool.
Drill their first holes. That was really exciting for me. You could just see the pride on the ladies' faces as they've drilled their first hole.
That's awesome. I love those events. I just think it's so much fun, and it's so important that women in particular have those opportunities to participate in and learn together. Kind of, it's typically a more comfortable environment to learn in, and you don't feel quite as intimidated than if you were with a bunch of guys. So,
definitely.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. I was just gonna say, like, there was like, so when I was growing up, I would go with my dad and my grandpa, and then I had a boyfriend after that, so I was going with him. But then there was a time where I was single for a while, and I'm like, oh, I can't do it. And then just one day I decided that I can do it. I can do it all myself. And then I did, and it was great.
Nice. Awesome. What advice would you give for someone in a position like that, similar position? I mean, just go for it. Like, you already had kind of experience, learning from your grandpa and your dad, and but if somebody didn't have that, like, just join a group like Women Anglers of Minnesota, or find a friend or somebody that's got experience and can kind of teach you.
Yeah. I would suggest, yeah, either joining a group like Women Anglers of Minnesota, or maybe like I'm part of Team IFM with Ice Fishing Minnesota on Facebook. You can meet great people on those Facebook chat groups, and maybe you can find someone in your area that would be willing to take you out and show you the ropes. Especially like for women, if you can find somebody that's got another woman that has gear, because that's can be a big factor for other women is maybe a big gas auger isn't going to work for you. You don't want that to deter you from the sport. They make options for that now.
Right. Yeah, gear, it's nice ice fishing. You don't have to buy a boat, so that can save a lot of money, but still all that gear can add up.
It sure can,
if you want all the things. So yeah, that's good advice to find somebody who's got that stuff, and then you can kind of learn, make sure it's something that you're going to want to do before you start making investments in all that gear.
Yeah. Make sure you get products that are going to be right for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another important thing. You want to buy something and then you're like, I hate this, and
yeah, and then you never go out with it.
Right, exactly. So over the years, have you had any kind of scary moments out on the ice? I know a lot of people have those stories of, because ice, they say, is there's no such thing as safe ice. So you have to be careful.
It wasn't too necessarily scary, but one morning, I like to go until we can't go anymore. So it was probably April, maybe. And we went out in the morning and the ice was good in the morning. And actually we ended up with the wheeler falling through, coming off in the afternoon. It got warm during the day and windy, and the wind swirled up at the axis, and yeah, just right at the axis, it ended up going through. So yeah, we had some pretty wet gear, but everything dried out all right and we got it off all right. But good. Yeah, definitely you have to use caution out there.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any big goals for the next season?
I'd just like to hit more lakes that I haven't been to. It's always fun to try new places and experience new bodies of water. So my goals for the next year are just to get on more lakes that I haven't been on.
Cool. Awesome. Well, hopefully we have good ice and a good long season this year. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with the Woman Angler and Adventure, and for the article as well.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Now please welcome Katie Halverson to the show. You're a carpenter by day and then an independent ice angler on the weekends and the evenings, and you take people under your wing and introduce them to the sport. But then you're also on a water ski team where you do all these like crazy tricks and stuff. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yep. I have my feet in a lot of areas, so it's fun though. Keeps me busy.
Well, and being out on the water, I mean, who doesn't love being out on the water, whether it's hard water or soft water? What part of you are in Minnesota?
Yep, I'm kind of Midwest Minnesota, I guess.
Midwest Minnesota.
Yeah, okay. So about an hour straight east of Fargo.
Okay, gotcha. What lakes around there do you like to go out on?
Oh, I don't know. There's just in the last couple years, I've been exploring new lakes.
Okay.
And I guess I don't necessarily have a favorite. Mm-hmm. The lake that I grew up on and live on still has been a favorite of mine for years, all my life, I guess. It's just been a great fishery, and I don't know, it holds the fish and it has good sizes, and so it's a small lake though.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, we won't reveal the name because we don't want droves of people going there. But so you grew up there, so obviously if you're into fishing, you're in a great spot, but ice fishing is kind of like your outlet. You got to do it in the winter because you don't have any other choice. Unless you're going to travel. But like, how did you get into ice fishing in particular?
Well, because I grew up on a lake, it was something that we did a few times a year. My dad had a fish house when I was young, and So we would make it out a few times, and then eventually the fish house got old and rotten, and so we bought him a portable, and we got into more portable fishing. But it really wasn't until, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, a friend of mine was making the transition from spear fishing to regular ice angling.
Mm-hmm.
And she was doing research on, how do people catch fish now? And it was different from what I was used to, because I grew up sit on a bucket and wait for the bobber to go down.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me intrigued and started doing research on my own and bought a flasher sonar unit. And that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Just being able to see what the fish were doing below me, and even see if there were fish below me, see if I had to move. And so instead of sitting and waiting for the fish to come to my lure, I learned how to go find the fish instead.
Did it take you a minute to be able to learn how to read the flasher?
A little bit. Since my friend had one to use before I bought my own, I kind of was able to learn it from her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so it wasn't too difficult
once you kind of understand what the lines mean and stuff. So it's kind of like, I've heard it described as like video game fishing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like playing a video game. So what draws you to ice fishing?
Well, I love the outdoors for one, and I think a big reason people might not like Minnesota in the winter is because they are not outdoors people. And I think the key to enjoying winter up here is to get outside and find something to do that you enjoy outdoors. And ice fishing is definitely up there for me. But I also just really love to learn about the fish and understand the fish's behavior in the water. And I mean, there's always something new to learn. More recently, I've been getting out on new lakes and learning how to read the maps and figure out, where the fish like to hang out in the winter. Throughout the winter, it changes. And then, so when I do fish solo, I'm all about learning. That's my main focus, learning about the fish. And then if I bring a new angler out, then my focus is going to be on putting what I've learned into practice to help them catch fish and have a positive experience.
Cool.
And
that's gotta feel pretty fulfilling to introduce somebody new to the sport and and just give them a good experience, and hopefully they'll like it and keep coming back. Yeah,
it's very fun.
Do you have any particular species you like to target, or just kind of fish for different things?
I really enjoy the panfish.
Okay.
But I mean, I'll take whatever comes.
Yeah.
I think midwinter my target is usually crappie.
Okay.
But late ice is definitely the sunfish, bluegill, because they're up shallower and they're very hungry that time of year, so they're very fun to catch.
Have you had any exceptional experiences on the ice? Like any stories or memories that stand out for you?
I really don't have anything that stands out to me, but every trip is different. Every trip has its own story. No two are the same, and often my mindset will determine the outcome of my trip. And if I have a positive attitude and go out with the mentality to learn from my experience, it'll set me up for success, whether I catch fish or not.
Yeah, that's great advice. I hear people like bass tournament anglers talk about that a lot. But yeah, as long as you're focused on learning something, and you probably learn something every time you go out, like you say, whether you catch fish or not. So as long as you walk away with more knowledge, then that's a win, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's the days where I might go out expecting to catch a lot of fish and I don't catch many. Those are the days that I get more frustrated with the fishing trip. So I just have to have the right mindset when I go out.
So what advice would you give to women out there who have thought about trying ice fishing or maybe haven't, but they're hearing this and now they're thinking about it? What advice would you give to them to, get out there and have that experience?
I would say try to find someone who does it and who is good at it, because then you can learn from them. You can experience it. I mean, you can use their equipment if they have it. Ice fishing does require quite a bit of gear depending on how much you want to invest in it. So if you can find someone else who knows it already, who can take you under their wing and get you out there, that's the way to go to start. And then, I don't know, I started with the bare minimum, like hand-me-down fish house, use my dad's auger, had one fishing pole, and that's how I got started. And I've gradually grown my gear from that.
And as you learn like what you like and what you're actually going to use, and what type of ice auger or whatever, then you can spend the money and invest in that stuff. But that you want to make sure you're going to use it first.
Right. Yep.
Do you have any goals for this upcoming season?
I think just try more new lakes. That's kind of been my kick the last couple of years, is to get out on new lakes. When I first started getting into it independently, I liked to go to the same spot every time because that's where I knew the fish were. But now I know that I won't learn if I just go to the same spot over and over again. I have to get out and try new places and find those fish. So that's my goal.
All right. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that. And as promised, I want to give you some details on the Women Anglers of Minnesota's annual Ice Queen tournament that you can sign up for free on the Fish Donkey app. And so I'm looking at some info here on the Woman Angler and Adventurer Facebook group, and Patty shared some details on there. So it says the scoop is you can go ice fishing for crappie and or walleye on any lake in the United States between January 1st and February 21st. So you still got plenty of time. Use the Fish Donkey app. Take a pic of your fish on a bump board, a pic of you with your fish, and then a video release. And you can just keep entering fish, as the app's going to keep track of your 10 longest fish and each species. So there's more details. I'm going to put a link to the Woman Anglers of Minnesota website where you can get all the ins and outs and scoop on this virtual tournament. So just go to thewomanangler.com/165 to check that out. All right, everyone, have a fantastic week. I can't wait to see you back here next week for the epic first episode ever coming out of the new Woman Angler and Adventurer Lance Truck Camper Mobile Podcast Studio. I'm so excited about this, and I hope you will join me next week. See ya.